Hi, everybody. This is Sam with Candidate Corner here at we're conducting these candidate interviews here because we're the recipient of the King County Voter Education Fund grant. And so we do this on a nonpartisan, a non-endorsement basis. And so today we're very honored to have with us Congressman Adam Smith for Ninth Congressional District. Welcome, Congressman Smith.
Thank
Yeah, thank you so much. And Congressman Smith, as we know, has been our congressman here in Washington State, Ninth Congressional District, for close to 30 years. And we just want to, we're very honored again to just have him come and just share some of his thoughts and vision for the Ninth Congressional District. And also, perhaps just for our viewers, if you would, Congressman Smith, you were, again, raised in Seattle from this area.
Yeah, I can give you the
Yeah, that'd be great. And then sure. Just tell us a little bit your personal background.
Sure. I grew up in the SeaTac area.
SeaTac, okay.
My father worked for United Airlines. He was a baggage handler for them. So graduated from Tye High School. Spent my entire life in South King County. First part of my life in South King County. And I was elected to the state senate to represent the SeaTac, Kent, Des Moines area, 1990. And then got elected to Congress after that. And now I live in Bellevue with my wife, and we have 2 grown children.
Amazing. So tell us about, with your background, how you sort of got into, the political arena, and walk us through how that kind of happened.
I got involved in my community at a very young age. My father was the secretary-treasurer of his union local, and he started taking me to political meetings, when I was probably 12 or 13 years old. So it sort of exposed me to a variety of different issues, certainly the local politics, the district Democratic groups, but then, the education system, the basic local community. And that got me interested in solving public policy problems. And that's, I always say I've had 2 great passions from an issue standpoint. One is I believe in representative democracy. I want people to have a voice in how they are governed, and I want to be able to help them with whatever issues come up. And then I believe in equality of opportunity. I think everyone should have a fair shot in America, and so I work very hard on those issues. So that's what sort of got me involved in the community. And then an opportunity came up for me to run for the state senate. Gosh, I was 25 years old.
Yeah,
so
you
I
were
ran.
the youngest ever. Yeah. And I think in the history, right, in the nation.
Well, actually, I think the stat is I was the youngest at the time.
Okay, at the time.
There are some state senators who have been younger both before and since, but at the time, I was the youngest state senator in the country. But it was really just sort of a connection to the community that got me into it.
I see. When you say, I wanted to dig a little bit into when you mentioned equality for all and representation for all. And so what does that look like?
To me, and that's, I think, the central challenge. Well, there's another challenge that we have with Donald Trump and what's going on with that. But I think what's really broken down over the last couple decades is opportunity for all. The basic idea, work hard, play by the rules, get ahead. Now, what it looks like for me is certainly a strong economy. You got to be able to have, job training so that people can get access to good jobs that will pay the bills. And there's a lot that needs to go into that. But really, the biggest thing that's broken down is costs. Housing is so much more expensive. Education is more expensive. Healthcare, energy. All of those costs have gone up. Wages and benefits haven't kept up. So equality to me means, like I said, if you're growing up and you want to pursue something, it's there for you.
Got it.
And it's really become much more of a challenge now.
I see. I understand. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But you also mentioned that democracy for all. And so if you talk to different people from different backgrounds, they may have their own definition of what that may be. But in your eyes, what does that mean for you?
Well, I mean, it means it's pretty simple, actually. We don't actually live
Don't overthink it.
We don't actually live in a democracy. We live in a republic, which means that we have a say in how we are governed, but typically we elect people who we can then talk to, and then they carry that out. And I think, that's very much in jeopardy. I think democracy also means the rule of law. Our federal government doesn't serve any one person, it serves the entire country. And I'm deeply worried with what Trump is doing with that, the way he's using the Justice Department, what he's saying about elections. So, I think you have to accept the outcome of elections. And I think this is one of the challenges in a democracy. democracy in a republic as well, the principle is you have a say in how you are governed. And that's fine. But just because you have a say doesn't mean that you get what you want all the time. And I think increasingly people are saying, if I don't get the outcome I want, that means there was no democracy. Whereas the process itself needs to be respected. You have a say, you argue, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But Donald Trump's decision to claim that he won the 2020 election is really threatening the very fabric of our democracy. That issue, and then you get the economic issues, are two big things I'm most concerned about in the current moment.
Got it. Thank you for clarifying that. I wanted to go back. So if you look back on your career, which is close to 30 years since 1997, can you talk about just some salient and notable sort of achievements?
Sure.
And maybe perhaps some of the challenges, just to like what's ahead still. You know,
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, the biggest thing that I'm proud of is just all of the people that we've helped over the course of those 30 years. My staff and I really prioritize constituent services. Sometimes it's just a matter of being responsive. Someone wants to know something about an issue, and we get right back to them and let them know. Other times they have, case issues. Maybe they've got an immigration issue or a tax issue, or a social security issue. They're not getting the benefits that they're supposed to get. And we really prioritize making sure that our constituents, if they have a concern, if they have something coming up, we help them. And I think we've done that to a very, very high level for a very long time. Even one of my opponents in this election, we helped her husband out of detention because it's my job. He's a constituent. We're going to go help him. That's number one. Number two, I think I have been instrumental in helping to pass some important pieces of legislation. The 12 weeks of paid leave for all federal employees was a result of something I did. I was the chairman of the Armed Services Committee for 4 years, and we passed 4 rather large National Defense Authorizing Acts. And I've done a variety of different other things here to help the local community.
I see. You mentioned of the Armed Services Committee and where you're chair, and I want to talk a little bit about that if we could.
Sure.
So with everything that's going on, you mentioned at the federal level, but also on the global scale with what's going on in the Middle East. And so there's a lot of varying, differing opinions about, how we should go about handling this, or their thoughts and opinions on what's going on. And so, there's two sides of the coin, right? We need to have I think many of us would agree that we need to have a strong defense from our would you call it enemies, foreign or domestic. But at the same time, can you speak to that maybe? Because we feel like it's important to have a wide spectrum of understanding so that we can, Are you able to share?
Certainly. So, what is our national security policy? What is our defense policy? How do we, propose to defend this country and their interests? And I think it's absolutely true that we face threats across the world. But I think we've come to rely too much on the military, not enough on diplomacy and partnerships and alliances.
Interesting.
We're seeing it now. We're stuck in this war in Iran that we should have never started in the first place. Just today, we hear that we lost 2 more service members killed. 1's missing, so possibly 3 in an attack on one of our bases, I think in Jordan. That war is not serving our interests. So I want to see a national security policy that relies less on the military and relies more on diplomacy and partners and alliances. And so, we need national security, we need a defense, but we can't rely on just that.
I see. Would not the military follow the precepts of the diplomacy, or are they kind of acting separately?
Oh no, they should absolutely act in concert.
Okay.
You need to have a credible deterrent as part of how you negotiate, to be sure. But I think we also need to recognize the complicated world we live in and the interests of other countries and other concerns, and try to balance those to try to keep the peace.
Sure. So, Congressman Smith, you're running for re-election here. And so, throughout your almost 30-year career, what is still left on the table, perhaps, for Congressional District 9? And when you roll up your sleeves, like, what is there some unfinished business that we need to attend to? Always.
And as I said, I mean, two big issues. One, making sure we preserve our representative democracy, and two, doing a better job of making sure there's opportunity for people, bringing housing costs down, bringing healthcare costs down, education, workforce development.
Okay.
I mean, my life, the basic blue collar background that I grew up in, I still had opportunity. I had a good education system that I could walk to, K-12 education, went to college, got some help and support in that. Heck, my father was part of a union, and I was part of a union. I loaded trucks for United Parcel Service to pay my way through college, so I was a teamster. So union protections enabled me to get good wages. So yeah, getting after the economic inequality in our community is the big thing I want to work on.
I see. We've conducted about, maybe for this year, this election cycle, about 20 interviews so far, and so that's the consistent theme with all of the candidates is our current
Costs.
affordability costs, rising costs, housing, etc., all of the above. And so that's on your plate. And you said that's always a work in progress. And so do you have maybe some ideas that you can share as to how, like what may be going on for our viewers, and also maybe some strategies in terms of how we can possibly alleviate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we just passed a housing bill in Congress, which is going to streamline red tape, put more money into building more housing. I think on the housing issue, it's relatively simple: build more housing. And there are jurisdictions, across the country that have succeeded in doing that, but we still have too cumbersome a permitting process, too cumbersome a zoning process. We're not building enough housing. So yeah, that's a matter of money, but it's also a matter of streamlining the process and building more of it. I'm a big supporter on healthcare of a universal access. I support the Medicare for All bill. Everybody ought to have healthcare. I was talking with a business the other day that was concerned about labor costs. But a big part of it is they provide healthcare to all of their employees. Can you imagine as an employer if healthcare wasn't your issue?
Yeah.
If there was a national program and that's where people got their health care, so you didn't have to, run your business and also try to figure out.
I'd like to know about that.
How to provide health care to everybody. So,
yeah.
And then on education, workforce development opportunities. We have an education system that I think is focused too much on four-year degrees and not enough on practical skills and career and technical education. Now that's shifting. But I want to support high schools, community technical colleges, and unions and other programs that help people get specific skills that make them employable.
Got it. Can we get a little bit into the weeds, going back to the housing? And so there's a prohibitive sort of the process currently for the permitting, et cetera. And so it would seem like, well, then let's expedite the process. But what are some of the barriers to that, really? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, well, some of it is just, we developed a bias of, wanting to make sure that we protected, well, how to put this exactly? The process just takes too long. I mean, you can make a decision about what to build and what not to build, but it's become a very, very lengthy process. Some of that is just inefficiency and incompetence in government. Some of it is, we're trying to protect the environment. We're trying to make sure that it's equal access for everybody.
Right.
But I think we need to scrub those rules and recognize that right now the number one priority is building more housing.
Okay. So me as a homeowner and saying like, well, we don't want additional housing. Yeah, that part of the process too, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's a pretty good way to drive it in. And a couple years ago, the state legislature passed a law that said every community has to allow for at least 4 units on a given lot. So in other words, if you've got a single family lot and someone comes in and wants to turn it into a fourplex, it's automatically approved, and the local communities can't prohibit that. Now, they did create some exceptions for homeowners associations. In the neighborhood that I live in, which is about 56 houses, we weren't sure if we were exempted from that or not. And so there were some people in the neighborhood who wanted us to be exempted so that we didn't have to, require that fourplex thing. Now, I understand the rule, and you're asking me, in my ideal world, would I rather have a single-family residence, on the other side of the driveway from me, or would I rather have a fourplex? Well, I'd rather have the single-family residence. But I'd also rather people be able to afford housing and not be homeless.
Sure.
So I'll accept that. That's fine. So I think we need to open up a little bit and stop trying to preserve the land that we have to make sure that our fellow citizens can afford housing.
Okay. It's our frame of thinking and how you look at it when you look at the whole holistic picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to go back to so the ninth congressional district. It's very diverse, and this is where you grew up in SeaTac, and so you've seen the growth throughout the past decades. Specific to our, we're Seattle Korean Association, and so specific to our AA and HPI communities, and you're also the Asian American chair of the Asian American Caucus. And so, how does the diversity of your ninth district sort of inform your decisions, and what are some of the ways that representation that you've sort of represented represented our communities in that way? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I
Yeah.
think first and foremost is to
Yeah.
recognize the strength that immigration has brought to our community
Okay. Well.
and to our country. I mean, from our founding, people all across the world have wanted to come here to work hard and build a better life for themselves and their families.
Right.
And we benefit from that. And we certainly see that around here. With the East African community, the Korean community,
Right.
Chinese community, Indian community. And I think we really benefited from that. So number one, support for, reasonable immigration, let people come in, and then just equality and making sure that, we don't allow any bigotry or bias. That's what America is supposed to be about. It doesn't matter your race, your creed, your religion. You should have the same opportunity in your community. So I think we have to work hard to make sure that there's no bias, there's no bigotry. We're giving equal opportunity to everybody and giving them a chance to live the American dream.
Oh, amazing. So on that note, you were speaking to the federal level, and as it relates to our sort of immigrant communities here, many of that is represented in the ninth district. Do you have an opinion on our current state of immigration and where that stands?
Yeah.
And yeah. Yeah.
I think, and I'm very frustrated because it seems like we're always battling the extremes.
Yeah.
What makes sense to me is a fair amount of legal immigration.
Yeah.
We also need a secure border, though.
Sure.
So I think under the Biden administration, the borders were not secure. We had a lot of people coming in, and we cannot take and accommodate every single asylum seeker all across the world.
Right.
I mean, we saw it right here in Tukwila, just up the hill. A local church sort of said, "Hey, we will be a place for asylum seekers to come," and they did, and we got overrun by hundreds of immigrants that we couldn't accommodate, and they were sleeping in tents. So the state legislature appropriated, I think it was like $35 million. King County appropriated some money. But you saw that all across the country. So we can't take everybody. There has to be secure borders.
Sure.
But now we have Donald Trump, who's blocking immigration on everything, except apparently for South African people, which is just flat out racist.
Interesting.
We need a solid legal immigration system that lets people in and secure borders. And the final point I'll make about immigration, we've got all these ICE raids going on. They killed 2 more people in the last 4 or 5 days. Violating due process, violating the rights of people all across this country. I don't think we should be doing that. Yes, there are some people who probably should be deported if they are dangerous. But I think we need a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants. And I know the controversy around that. Well, I waited in line, I got in, they snuck across. Why should someone who's not documented have that opportunity? Well, I'll tell you why. Because for the last 60 or 70 years, our country has relied on the labor of undocumented immigrants. Yeah. They are part of our community.
Right.
Okay, they've got families, they've got jobs, they've got businesses in some instances, they're paying taxes, they're contributing to our community. So after decades of that, to grab them and send them back in many cases to countries that they barely even recognize at this point, I think is wrong. So that's what a sensible immigration policy would look like to me. A pathway to citizenship for the undocumented population, secure borders, and a robust amount of legal immigration to keep us getting the benefit of that.
Sure. It brings me back to my family, and then I can go on about that the whole immigration.
Yeah.
But this is more about you. but
right.
But I empathize and I can relate. We built this together. We believe so. Talk a little bit about briefly, in your district, because we are a Korean association, but we're at this point very multi-ethnic. You mentioned, Latino, Black, Southeast Asian, Slavic. We have partnerships with all of these different communities. And how have you partnered with them maybe throughout your career? And how would you, how, could we do more? And
no, it's a good it's a good organizing principle.
Right.
Now, I will point out all those communities that you just mentioned, they are intertwined. They're not just the Korean community. They're involved in education, involved in business, involved in politics. So I work with them on that level, but it's a pretty good organizing principle. It's a pretty good way to stay in touch with a specific group of people on a specific group of issues. The Korean American Association, very, very strong in Federal Way. Worked with them for years. Also, strong up in the Bellevue area. And again, they're business owners, they're educators, and so working with those communities, I think, helps strengthen our entire community.
Thank you for those words and appreciate your support. And also, I forgot to mention that, but we want to thank you for all of your years of service for our state. I really appreciate that for the past 30 years. Yeah, thank you very much. And we're looking forward to what's next and ahead for us. But maybe just finally, I wanted to go back. So you were among the youngest, so 25 years old as state senator. Now, at that age, I don't even remember what I was just trying to get my act together here at 25, and you're already like, a state senator here, and so you could have done anything. So why did you kind of choose that path? And on top of that, in addition to that, maybe just some encouragement for our young folks and young people.
Sure,
as to why it's important.
Let me start there first, and then I'll double back to my own story. Look, it's your community. You understand a little bit better how it runs. You don't have to run for office necessarily, but if you're just involved and engaged, you will be better informed and we'll have a better, stronger community. And I think, young people are impacted by these policies a lot more than those of us who are older. So getting engaged is the way to do that. As far as my story, I basically, I wanted to do something important with my life. And also, as I got involved in my late teens, I discovered that I had a talent for problem solving, for listening to diverse groups of people and trying to come up with reasonable solutions. So I really had a passion for that. And then again, as I said at the start, my connection to my community. Right. This is, where I grew up, where I spent my life. And, just the opportunity presented itself to run for that state Senate seat. But it was really, born out of a commitment to the community and to civil society, solving problems, bringing people together, making sure we have a livable place for all of us.
Great. Finally, Congressman Smith, your 9th district is probably listening out there. Most likely they are. And maybe give some words of encouragement to them. We got some more work ahead of us, as always. And how can they continue to help you? Would you like to speak to them? Yeah.
I'm certain. Look, I mean, the words of encouragement are, we have a great country. Economic opportunity and representative democracy are not easy. A lot of countries have struggled with it, and we've struggled with it throughout our history. But now is a really important time to fight for that. Don't take for granted what we have here in this country. Be active, be engaged. And also, I would say, be tolerant of people who disagree with you. And that's one of my greatest concerns right now, is we're increasingly deciding that there's what we believe and there's the people on our team and they're right, and anyone who doesn't agree with us, we just don't want to have anything to do with. Look, civil society exists where people figure out how to resolve their disagreements peacefully. That's what politics is supposed to be. The cliche is that politics is a substitute for violence. Basically, one way or the other, we're going to resolve our differences. Let's resolve them peacefully. But you can't do that if you assume that anyone who disagrees with you isn't worth listening to. I've seen too much of a culture of sort of putting us into our own little camps, our own little echo chambers, and then just shunning everybody else. We don't need to do that. We need to work with people who we disagree with. That's how societies function best.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate
Congressman Smith, for your time.
Thanks.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
See you.
This is our longtime Congressman, Adam Smith. We thank him for his time in Candidate Corner. And the ballots should be out, as I mentioned. And so, let's do our part. It's very important to, regardless of the candidate that you vote for, to at least just get the vote out. And quickly, can you share about as to why that's important? Because a lot of my friends say, my vote doesn't matter. Do you have just a few words finally just to share on that? Yeah.
Sure. I mean, in a representative democracy, the more people that participate, the more legitimate that country is. And if you get down to the point where fewer and fewer people are participating, you got a real problem. Now, one vote does make a difference. And the essence of a representative democracy is you have to be responsible enough to participate in the process.
Thank you. So ballots are out again, and you can catch us, and you can catch Congressman Smith's interview on our YouTube channel, and that's GSKA Space TV, GSKA Space TV. And most importantly, when you get your ballots, take a look at our YouTube channel, the candidates there, the interviews, also your voter pamphlet is always there. And do you have a website that you would like to share, or any other information?
ElectAdamSmith.com.
ElectAdamSmith.com. There you go. So thank you once again, Congressman.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, we'll see you again. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye. Yeah.